Welcome back as we continue our coverage following the news that country music icon Dolly Parton has passed away at 80 years old. Reaction, of course, pouring in, including from the commander-in-chief, President Trump, who posted this on Truth Social, quote, "Very sad to report that Dolly Parton, one of the greatest country singers and far beyond ever, has just passed away. This is a true loss for millions of people. There has never been anyone like her and never will. In her honor, I am lowering the American flag throughout the United States for a one-week period, beginning tonight at 6 p.m. Rest in peace, Dolly. The world loves you."
Joining us now, New York Post features columnist Kirsten Fleming. Kirsten, good to see you. What's your reaction to the president's Truth Social post?
He's 100% correct. I mean, the world loves her, and I think she might be the last person to be beloved by everybody. If you had a problem with Dolly, I think it was more a problem with you than it was with her. So in these polarizing times, she really, like, her passing, I think, symbolizes, you know, this throwback celebrity who didn't dive into all these different issues. And she just was so universally beloved. And that just does not happen anymore.
I think that's an excellent point, Kirsten. And also, she was such an inspiration to so many artists who have topped the charts themselves today. As we mentioned, she's Miley Cyrus's godmother, also inspired Taylor Swift and Beyonce and many, many more. But also, to your point, I was always just so fascinated by her and the fact that people would make fun of her. They'd make fun of her appearance. They would, say terrible things, especially when she was in her heyday before she quite reached icon status. But I remember watching her, and I mentioned this earlier to Bill. She did an interview, or Barbara Walters did an interview with her forever ago, and even said to her, you're so talented. Like, why do you do, all this kind of reference, the hair and the bleached hair and the over-the-top clothes. And Dolly said, well, why not? I love it. It makes me happy. This is who I am. And if you don't like it, well, all right, I'm not going to change it. And I just think that confidence, but that comfort in her own skin, especially someone who was born very, very poor and became very, very wealthy. She just had such a confidence that I think could be an inspiration, not just to music artists or performers, but I think to everybody, especially in this age of social media and so much unkindness.
Well, she was in on the joke. She didn't take herself too seriously, which I think, that goes such a long way with people nowadays. And not enough people have that ability to laugh at themselves. But she saw it. Barbara Walters wasn't breaking any news to her about how people viewed her. She was really all about how she viewed herself. And I think, I agree. Growing up in the 80s, you had, I grew up on 9 to 5 and Steel Magnolias. And she really was cartoonish in a way. But she was just so confident, and it kind of just made you love her even more because, like I said, she was kind of winking at herself too.
It's interesting, Kirsten, as we're talking about this, we just learned about her passing, within the last hour.
Right.
And this doesn't feel like a group in mourning. It feels like a celebration of life already. And I want to ask you, from an entertainment perspective, sometimes celebrity dies and they leave a hole. It feels like Dolly Parton's passing, it's left a foundation for this next generation to build on.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to find anyone like Dolly. She endured decades and decades. In terms of her cultural, contributions, at in her late 70s, she was dancing, doing the Thanksgiving halftime show for the Dallas Cowboys. And, in a Dallas Cowgirls outfit, which was like incredible. And it has, legs that you can still show that off. So she never really stopped having cultural impact. And I think that's what's really interesting. She never stopped being herself. So you have someone like Madonna who constantly reinvents herself and has now turned herself into almost a cartoonish person because she's always trying on different personalities. Dolly always stayed true to herself. And every single artist, young, old, they know who she was. They worshiped her. And it goes back to being true to herself. But I think she just was so immensely talented And I think that, we don't really, it's sort of hard to see how much of an impact she's really had. You don't even realize how many songs she's written, how many songs of hers have been remade by other younger artists. But
Right.
it's an enduring legacy that it's singular. She really is singular in that aspect.
And to your point, I mean, she had a career that spanned more than 6 decades. She wrote thousands of songs for herself and others. Obviously also had an incredible presence on screen as well as an actress. There you see her, of course, with Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
And again, whenever she was performing, you just couldn't take your eyes off of her. Even now, when we're not hearing her voice, just even watching her, I'm just mesmerized by what we're seeing here. But also what I think is so amazing, I mean, she made her debut at the Grand Ole Opry at age 13.
Wow.
She sold more than 100 million records worldwide. So really her entire life, this is what she did. And I think to your point, Bill, she's built a foundation for people rather than left a hole, and something that I think I'm hoping a lot of her fans, this will be a moment of coming together again, because as you both said, she didn't talk about politics. She wasn't angsty. She wasn't pushing causes down people's throats. She was just Dolly. And there was nothing simple about just being Dolly. Larger than life, literally, but truly such an inspiration in so many ways. And I think maybe even just not just being kind to other people, but being kind to yourself.
Yeah. She really, oh gosh. And I feel like she went out on top. I feel like she's never been hotter than she is now in a weird way.
And Kirsten, I'm going to say that because she's actually been working on a musical about her life that is going to be coming to Broadway. It's happening. So she, of course, will live on in so many ways, but also in something that has never been seen before. It's called Dolly, an original musical. And of course, she's continued developing new music, as you pointed out, and entertainment projects. And even though she just admitted on Friday that after her dear husband of nearly 60 years passed away a bit over a year ago, her health has been maybe declining. She hasn't been taking as good care of herself, but she was still working, doing what she knew, doing what she loved, and also continuing to make so many other people happy.
And think about how many new fans she will develop after her passing with this play coming out. I mean, that was kind of my thought on this whole next generation, that this is a true legacy that will continue to build and gain new fans. And that's why this feels like a celebration of what's to come and her incredible life that has passed. Other than sometimes you're reporting on things that when somebody dies who's had that much of an impact, it feels down, it feels sad. But this feels like you're getting the same smiles. People are reminiscing about what she's singing about, watching this and getting inspired instead of feeling sad. And I think that is an incredible legacy right there.
Yeah, I think the thing about Dolly that we forget is she was not famous for being a vacuous celebrity. She was famous for her talents.
Right.
And I think she left a lot of mystery there. So there was some mystique behind her. People didn't know everything about what she had for breakfast. They didn't really know. Her love story was cherished because she did keep it private. Yeah. And she's also unique in that aspect. I mean, she just was famous because she was so insanely talented.
Information, truth is freedom, is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.